My name is Sonia Rowbottom. I'm the director of Spectrum D, an organisation which I founded in 2009. I actually used to teach at the university here, Human Rights and Geopolitics, and I decided to leave to set up this organisation to work across social justice issues and human rights issues in the community. For me, social justice operates at different levels. The individual has to question themselves. The group has to question themselves, and society, for true social justice to be alive and kicking, so to speak, society itself has to go through some fundamental changes to ensure that everyone has access, everyone has a fair chance to really redress some of the ills that we are plagued by in contemporary society. But if people really believe in social justice and equality and fairness, then that has to start with each of us individually, and then we can begin to gather collectively to create the sorts of changes that we need to, and then the scale gets bigger and you get things like the Occupy movement, which gathered some momentum in quite a short time, but I think it's about sustaining that change, and we're not quite there yet with regard to social justice. And certainly in the UK today, the sorts of problems that people are experiencing because there is social injustice, food poverty, the use of food banks, overcrowded housing, children who really don't have warm coats in winter, parents deciding not to have a meal that evening in order so that their children can eat. And these are quite Dickensian conditions. We're almost regressing. Indeed, we live in an era of austerity, which hasn't made things easier, but things like the withdrawal of legal aid. So not everybody has access to justice, even. We are a human rights social justice organisation. It's difficult to differentiate between where one starts and the other begins, which means effectively we work across the 7 strands of diversity, and I'll just say what they are. Sexual orientation, gender identity, gender, age, disability, race and religion or ethnicity. And so we work, whoever comes through our door, we operate on 2 levels. We have a programme of events and training, but we also operate as a community centre because we've got quite a large building. So we operate and provide space for people in the community. We're based in the heart of Pear Tree, Normanton, and we serve the community around us. So there could be a party upstairs one evening and a conference the next. I would say poverty. And I would split poverty into 2. And I know I went to great lengths earlier to talk about not scapegoating the poor, but I think that a certain malaise can take you over a sort of a culture of poverty. There is one thing being poor, i.e. not having resources, and then the other, the apathy that can develop around that, which can create a certain level of inaction in people, and that inevitability around there's nothing I can do about it becomes a rod for their own backs, if you see what I mean. So that's one aspect of poverty which I'd like to highlight. The other is, of course, access to resources, food banks. You know, you have people in this country that can't afford to heat their housing on these really cold nights, and you think there's somebody potentially who's out on the street even. We need to have a welfare system that works. We don't have one where people come to think that things are free, because nothing is free. Somebody's always paying for things, and I think that we need to create society, and a welfare system will be really important in doing this. One that works properly for the poor as well as for society as a whole, whereby people come to see that by receiving welfare benefits, they are part of society. They're not an underclass or a workless class. They are part of society, and that somehow they're contributing to society as a whole. That we don't just hand out benefits, which creates a dependency, that we create the opportunities for people to work their way out of poverty and welfare dependency. One of the things that students might not know particularly is that the voluntary sector to which we belong had 100% cuts in their funding from the City Council. So no voluntary sector organisation will be receiving any funding at all from the from the Derby City Council, but so that means that we come to rely more heavily on volunteers